Welcome to the dark side of Transformers knockoff toys. In this video I'll create my own Age of Extinction for these nasty clones. Best of all, Mr. Hammer has a new helping hand. Some lights, sounds and wrecking activity may disturb some viewers.
Knockoff Transformers, robots you despise.
Well, you thought it would never happen, but here we go. We're going to do a Transformers Dark Side video, and our first thing that we're going to show is what looks like an Optimus Prime. This is a remote controlled Prime mover. It actually looks very impressive. The box artwork's a bit hard for me to read because there is no English on this. I'm looking for things like made by Hasbro or the Transformers icon. I can't see that, but I can see plenty of other stuff that looks sort of strange. Here's the artwork on the side of the box, and I've got to say this is looking mighty strange. And there's the back of the box artwork. If you can read that, you're doing better than me. Someone will say, oh, you never showed us the back of the box, Leo. Well, there it is. I wonder what that says. Does it say transform? Well, if you look at that long enough, you'll learn another language. Looks like a Transformers ripoff to me. This is actually a fairly large toy, and what is a little bit strange is it's very inexpensive when it comes to toys of this size. I only paid $15 for it at the dark markets where I purchased this. Once again, you can't see a scrap of English on this. And what is very interesting, it comes with rechargeable batteries and also a fairly snazzy looking RC unit. But once we get out of the box, we'll just see what sort of dark side nasties we're dealing with. Okay, coming in for the unboxing, and in this dark side video, price is going to be a very important thing to listen to. What's really unusual with some of this stuff is it can be very expensive. This is unusual for the fact that it's so inexpensive. Ooh, look at that. This is actually looking half impressive, and I'll tell you what, this is actually quite a heavy toy as well. Here it comes. Oh yeah. Listen to that foam going squinky squinky. Oh yeah, let's just take that bit of plastic off there. You know, this is, well, I suppose it's a clone of Optimus Prime. I think Optimus is this colour. They're calling it a super truck there. This actually came with its own battery charger. There's a little rechargeable battery with it. Very unusual in a knockoff sort of toy of this costing. And here's the instructions. Mind you, it's going to be totally useless to me because I can't read that language, and I would be very fearful to even say what language it is. I'm assuming that's Chinese. There's the other side there. I suppose the pictures tell 1,000 words, don't they? That's what the pictures are all about. But the remote control is up here. There's an aerial to put in as well. And I'll come in and I'll pull this quite elaborate truck out. I'll tell you what, this remote control is giving me a bit of a Spider-Man sort of feel. Maybe it's those colours. Oh yeah. Oh boy, it feels cheap and nasty in the hand. That's all you need to know. Oh, very cheap and nasty. For those of you who like screw shots, maybe you'll enjoy this one. Well, this toy is unusual because look at that. Looks like it's coming apart, but I think that's part of its function. Underneath the box here, that squishy box, there are some screws to take out. It's actually unusual for a knockoff toy to be so secure in the box. And now I've done all that unscrewing underneath this beast. It is free of the box. And like I said, it's a fairly weighty toy. Remembering it's only $15, I've actually picked off one of the more interesting ones to start off with. Believe me, they're not all like this, what I'm going to show with these Dark Side Transformers, but this looks fairly impressive. I just noticed there's a bit of a peekaboo robot in here. Hello little robot, you need to come out and play? Well, it's time to get the rechargeable battery pack in, and it's underneath this toy here. This is the area here. Gives me the opportunity to squeeze in a couple more screw shots, because I know they're your favourite. Don't ask me why, it just happens like that on my channel. And then there's a bit of careful battery connection. Oh, it's coming alive! It's coming alive! Oh, I'll tell you what, this is a noisy beast. It's making all sorts of comical sounds. Sounds like it's having some major problems, actually. I mean, just listen to this thing. It's going crazy on me and haven't even started playing. Well, that strange Optimus Prime finally fell silent, and the remote control takes two AA batteries, and on the remote control there's a joystick axis this way, this joystick axis is that way, and there are two buttons here. Okay, I've worked out what one of the joysticks does. It's a steering there, and it's fairly responsive, I have to say. Sorry for the noise. but this thing just starts making noise all of its own for some reason. And the other joystick is a forwards and backwards motion, and it makes a noise as soon as it starts going. It's actually pretty responsive, I have to admit. It's quite sprightly for its size and its weight. I shouldn't be praising this too much because from what I can work out, this is a knockoff. Not a very good driver, am I? Oops, sorry. Oops. Oops, bit of a tragic accident then. Oh, another one as well. Oh, and they're real Transformer toys we're smashing into there. It's actually a bit of fun doing that. But what's most annoying about this toy is this constant sound chip noise, and if I touch it, it sort of resets. I don't understand the touching bit of it. It goes to like an engine start sound and a horn. Yeah, I don't know. But we're maybe going to try some of those other buttons on the remote control and see what it does. Okay, I'm going to try the button on the left hand side. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm totally speechless. I do not know what to say after seeing what this does. If I press the other button, guess what's going to happen? It goes away. Well, the sound chip going crazy. Let's transform it up again. Here it goes. Quite an amazing toy. Look at that. I have no idea what that just said to me, but it looks all commanding. Now what's weird is the steering wheels are now up in the air, but guess what this can do? Do you want to see something like really crazy? Oh my goodness me, I don't want to drive off the table. I don't want to lose this one. This is just so strange. It is not funny. One of the strangest toys I think I've come across on my channel. Man, my boy is going to love this when he sees it. Being very carefully not to take it off the table. Actually very sprightly on its wheels. Very sprightly. It's quite responsive on the remote control unit. Being just very careful here. I'd hate to, like I said, I think if it drove off the table it would smash into pieces. It turns around slightly. You can't turn it while it's in a remote control mode like this because the turning wheels are up in the air. But if I keep going back to forwards like this, it is slowly turning around, if you can see that. Very sprightly. Strange. Oh, if I do that, I can actually just jiggle it around. Look at that. Just jiggling around, there you go. Just sort of tap the backwards and forwards and I get the jiggle around. It's doing a bit of a dance, jiggle dance. There you go. That's the way to turn it, just jiggle it. Oh yeah, and we're going to have a bit of a crash I think. Let's go. Oh! Let's go again. Oh yeah! And again. Ah! It's like that Transformer fight now. Knock off, jiggle it around a bit. Ah! Oh, it's talking, it's getting angry. Ah! Ah! Notice how the other one's not doing anything? It's sort of in shock, I think. Ah! It's attacking the other ones now. It's a whole lot of fun, I tell you. I can't help myself, can I? I could do this all day long. Well, I'm just going to find the off switch because the noise is just so overpowering on this. I want to say a few things about this toy. Oh boy, there's a switch there. Oh, phew. Okay, this is $15 for knockoff Transformers toy. It's got a cheap and nasty RC, but it seems like all the functions on that work. As an in-hand appraisal, it's one of these toys that I'm sure that if you started to play and manipulate this just a little bit too much, parts are going to break off. It's got some very, very sharp edges on it where the plastic has been finished off very poorly. And I mean, you can just see the way it's rattling around there. Believe me, if I put a little bit of pressure on this, I could just rip that arm off. I'd hate you to be too impressed by this. It's actually quite sprightly in the motor department. The fact that it's got that rechargeable battery is also a little bit unusual for a knockoff toy. It's got some softer bits on it as well, which is interesting. It's almost like when they built this, I wanted to make sure that bits like that, which would break off easily, would be harder to break off. But it's once you get this into the hand and do a bit of an in-hand appraisal, you start to just feel that what you're dealing with here is just a cheap and nasty toy. It's also interesting as well that it's got rubber tyres on there. I suppose it sort of needs it because it's actually quite low geared. It's very sprightly on those wheels, and it's actually a very heavy toy. The way that it transforms is very interesting. I don't know what the sounds are, if they are Transformers sounds ripped off, and I don't know what it's saying to me either. I know there's a Korean show which is like Transformers. I'm not sure whether it's connected to that. I'm just doing some research on that show because those toys are actually available in Korean shops in Australia. But to me this looks like a knockoff of Optimus Prime. You know, I can't... What's that logo there? It's not Transformers, is it? I don't know. I'm sure the audience will have a bit of say on this. I wonder if the lights there lit up when it was moving. I couldn't quite remember seeing lights on it. Maybe I have to check it out. But nevertheless, as a kick-off dark side toy for Transformers, this is very unusual, very low priced, and I'll tell you what, I shouldn't say it, but half impressive, especially if you're a Spider-Man. Just researching if the lights come on if I power it forward, and they do, and if I power it backwards the lights work as well. All I've got to say, I'm addicted to transforming this thing. I love pushing that button to transform it back to the semi-prime mover. Oh, let's go back up again because I can't help myself. I love pushing buttons. Look at it go. You scary thing. Look at it go. Well, I'll return to the back being a prime mover. Wow. And we'll move on to our next item. Well, what denotes a Transformers toy? When does something become a knockoff of the Transformers? This is the big question in this one. Here's what looks like a plane that turns into like a robot, we hope. Look at the price here. Very important, look at the price. $2.95, call that $3. Just remember that later on because we'll see something very similar to this but at a very different price point. On the back it looks like this. Vanguard Fighter's modern design. It's got that typical knockoff sort of read that you'll find on, I see on the Thomas staff, because I mainly look at the Thomas and Friends knockoff. And, you know, it always looks like this at the bottom. I can't see anything which says Tomy or Hasbro, which is who I believe I want to see if I'm dealing with Transformers stuff. Some of the stuff is highly collectible. I'll tell you what this one won't be. And let's take a look inside. I'm not an expert on this stuff, I'll let you know. I'm not going to become a Wikipedia expert either. I know the audience will always know more than I do, and I'll need their help along the way when I'm looking at the Transformer Darkside stuff. And I bet you this is cheap and nasty. Yep. It's got that feel of just toys that are going to fall apart in your hands. Let's see if I can transform it. I have a lot of trouble. Oh, look at that. Is it transforming? Is it doing anything on me? Is that it, is it? Okay, it's pretty basic, isn't it? Just looking around the pelvis joint here, there seems to be more things moving here. I'm not quite sure exactly how this thing totally transforms. I actually struggle with some of the Transformer toys. Like I'll go and transform it and then I can't get it back to being the vehicle. I know there's some people that do, oh but Leo, you know, it's so simple. Well, it's simple if you've been playing with them all the time. But as you can see, I'm just struggling to do. I can get it back to being a plane, this one, hopefully. But I'm not sure, you know, how much this really does transform into a robot. As you can see, I'm struggling. Okay, just having a closer look at this $3 toy, you can see it is very poorly pulled out of its mold. It's got some very sharp edges on it. That's one thing I will say. It doesn't. I don't think it transforms into anything that can stand up all by itself. I can't get it to stand up. I do notice it's got some sockets here which, you know, you can pull the pieces off and put them back on. You can do that on normal Transformer toys and it snaps back in. It seems half robust actually. But the Sharpies on this is the part that's actually a little bit scary. There's its sort of face. Yeah, it's curious. Remembering it's only $3. It's got a bit of a hand there. Very Transformer-like, isn't it? But the letdown in design here is the legs, I think. The legs just don't do anything for me. And about all I can make it do is sit down like that. Well, let's move on to another one. It's actually fairly interesting. This is very similar to the one I just shown. There's a couple of big differences in this, which I'll just talk about soon, but I want you to see the box here. It's got all the hallmarks of being a knockoff. I think they're trying to rip into Transformers because they say this word here, robots in disguise. As far as I'm concerned, when I see that, right, you're trying to knock into the Transformers thing. Look at the price here, $7.99. What was the other one? $3. And that thing we looked at first in this video is $15. So we're starting to see some wild price variations. This is the back of the box on this one. Because I've read Robots in Disguise, I think we're dealing with a knockoff. There's actually 3 designs of this one. Here's another design, same price, same sort of artwork, different design there. It's got some weaponry. All these are going to die, you know. I might have to bring out something we haven't seen in a while. Here's another one. They just keep coming, don't they? And this is yet another design. Let's spill them out of the packaging and see what we're dealing with. It's interesting, Transformers has been around for some time. I think it came about just as I was leaving high school. That's a good 30 years ago. And it's one of those things where it's basically a giant where the toys are the kings, I suppose. What are Transformers all about? It's apart from making very cool movies, it's about the toys. Oh yeah. Well, there's one of them out, and boy oh boy does that feel very, very cheap and nasty. There's a couple of weapons to pull out of this packaging as well, and they feel cheap and nasty too. So there it is, as a fighter jet. Sort of reminds me of the F-111 if you're old enough to remember them. I can show my age in this video, aren't I? Knowing that Transformers kicked off when I left school, and that was a long time ago, and I know F-111s. Let's transform this beast, see what it turns into. Like I said, I always have troubles transforming these things because I'm not a transformery sort of guy. I think I've got it done right, and that has come off. This has got a much cheaper, well, the other one's cheap and nasty, but this one's going to knock it for $6. Yeah, there's the ball joints there, and not very secure. It doesn't feel as nasty and sharp as the one before. I suppose it looks a little bit cooler, the fact it looks like this thing's going to stand up. Maybe I should stand this one next to the other one to point out something about the prices. So there are 2 knockoff Transformer toys, small toys at that. That first one there was playing out as a $3 toy, and it was nasty, nasty, sharpy, sharpy. This one here was an $8 toy, and it is just not worth $8. Welcome to the Transformers dark side. Now here's something to blow your mind. Let's talk about some real licensed Transformer toys, and I've got a couple there in front of you. It's the same model, but one is the car and one has been transformed. I picked these up for $12 at a retailer in Australia, and it was a reject shop. You've got to be careful because if you go to the wrong place, you'll pay a little bit more than that. But I think this is a NASCAR Transformer crossover. These are very impressive toys. I think there's another piece that goes on here, which is like a thing that, a grappling hook or something. I've got one which has been transformed. I actually struggle. Like I said, I'm not an expert at turning these toys from robot to car or vice versa, but there it is into its robot mode. I hope I have it made up right there. People say to me, but Leo, you should have turned that bit there and that bit's on wrong. But nevertheless, these are very elaborate toys. Very complex. I'd hate to be the person who sorts these out and has to work, make these in the factory and make the dice, and they are very complex. I actually prefer them when they look like cars. My brain, I can deal with looking at that. When they turn to the robots, they sort of give me a half headache because they look so complex. But when you talk about detail and complexity in toys, you start to tend to talk about price. But I want just to make that point. It's $12 for that versus that one up the back there. What was it? $8. You know, you tell me what would you prefer to have, and somehow people will fall for that $8 toy. When if you very carefully look around and shop, very wisely, you can pick the really good toys up for a fair price. And I think I've just found the piece that goes on the front of this car here, and it does something like that. Pretty nasty, eh? Well, yeah. And here's another Transformer card. Once again, I picked up the reject shop. I think it does. It's got guns at the front. It's like an engine block that turns into guns, but it's all very cool. I don't know where the bits which went there are. Maybe I've got the wrong bit on the wrong card. Looks like it's got like jet engines on the back. It's, the real Transformer stuff is very cool. This stuff here is not very cool at all. And I'll probably come along and unbox these other nasty Transformers, the Fako ones, because I think these are going to meet one of my friends. I'd hate these toys to be hanging around and get in the hands of children, they could, you know, create some horrible choking hazards and nasty finger cuts, I tell you. Let's get this other one out as well. All nasty stuff, guys. Totally overpriced as well. That's the sad part about this. You just get ripped off when you buy this stuff. And I want to make that point very clear. When you buy this stuff, all you're doing is buying a tragedy. Well, to keep in the theme of Age of Extinction, I've got a little friend that these Transformer toys are going to probably enjoy dancing with. It's called Mr. Blender. Let's see what they transform to once they hit those steel blades. And in this blend, I might go for the Ice Crush. Well, then they go. I hope they can all fit in. I'm sure they will. Make a lot of noise, I think. Chuck little tools in as well, the weapons. Wouldn't want to leave them behind. Okay, boys and girls, do not attempt this with your mum's best blender. Oh yeah! Oh yeah, loving it! Crikeys! Transformers, robots in pieces. Well, I've unplugged the blender, because you don't play with blenders when they're plugged in, do you? Shouldn't be playing with blenders at all. The GoPro survived somehow. That's the old one which fell into the other Aldi blender, which only lasted a couple of blends. This is a new blender for me. I'm wondering how long it's going to last. Looks like the GoPro lens will be okay. It hasn't smashed the little protective lens. But I tell you what, it's not looking very pretty down there. It's not looking very pretty at all. And I'll tell you what, the smell is quite unusual. Here we go. Knockoff Transformer smoke. Don't breathe that. Just pulling away the GoPro so I can turn it off. Hopefully it has survived. It looks like it has. But you never know until you get the files off the camera. Just turn it off. It's sort of interesting. It must have been a fair bit of static going on, or plastic rubbing on plastic, and it's, you know, a lot of it's stuck in there. It's like electrically stuck in there, if that makes any sense. Probably doesn't. But what is nice is I've sort of made Transformer confetti, or if you wanted that look of a fake, you know, tip, miniaturized tip, it looks just like that. And some of the big pieces are pretty messed up. Didn't really, you know, disintegrate into the tiny pieces I was expecting. There's another larger piece. But, you know, if you were into model whatever and you wanted to do a fake, you know, miniature tip and a really messed up look of destruction, well, I dare say that's a great way of getting it. That's a pretty messed up look, and I'm sort of happy with that. And this blender has survived. I think that's its second blend. It did some cardboard and chocolate, which wasn't much of a challenge, but it's going to be very interesting to see how long this blender survives for. And I guarantee to you it's not going to have an easy life with me. Well, our next dark side Transformer is sort of interesting. It was bought not far from where I live. It's sort of a Hummer style vehicle, but it looks like when you build it up, it's got some interesting reading on this box that we'll get to very shortly. On the back here, I've actually got the receipt there, which is important on this one. It's got that sort of artwork on the back. It looks impressive, doesn't it? And there's all these different other styles as well. And because this wasn't bought in the dark market, it's actually got a receipt. It says Toy Transfor, as in Transformer, one of $17.95. Which is, well, we'll wait and see. Is that expensive for this toy, or is it good value? The joint can be arbitrarily activity, assemble, different combat posture. And if it's a typo, it's done a number of times. I'll assume this is old stock because it's got a try me thing here, and if I push that, nothing happens. Of interest, I see a patent number on the box. And I suppose the big question with these sorts of toys is, do I feel like I'm getting a Transformer toy? Does this toy sort of cross the line in thinking Am I getting something that Hasbro would have connections with? Can I see Hasbro's signage on this toy anywhere? Not that I can see. It's, well, for its price, well, we haven't looked at the toy yet, but, you know, it's pushing up to the price that you could probably go and get a real McCoy Transformer toy. But I certainly can't see anything connected to the people who own Transformers. Well, it's time to free this nearly $18 toy from its box prison. What's interesting about the Transformer toys is they are so easy to find. You don't have to go to the dark markets or nasty places to find these. They are in all sorts of what I call legitimate shops and normal shopping areas, which is sort of unusual in a way, but then again, maybe it's not. In Australia, there seems to be, you know, no law against carrying this sort of rubbish. Instruction manual is here. It looks quite a read. It's actually quite a lot of pictures there. What's on the other side? Oh, it shows you how to go from one either way, isn't it? Is that right? Or am I just seeing it wrong? Yeah. Okay. And it's interesting that the box there has some curious artwork at the back of it. Well, let me free this knockoff out of its prison. It's sort of locked in here. Do you think this is an Autobot or a Decepticon? Or doesn't it count when it's a knockoff? If I can get it out, I'd be a lot happy. Here we go. It's actually sort of clipped in there. It's got a bit of weight to it, I tell you. Wow. Whoa. Got a big weapon here. It's interesting when you first put something in your hand, you get a sense for what you're dealing with. Yeah, it feels quite stiff, and you know, it needs to be played with a bit, I think, to loosen up. I'm sure I've got something to loosen this up pretty soon. It's going to knock it right into shape. It's quite interesting on the back of it. There's like this giant, I suppose, top of the Humvee car, whatever you call them, Jeeps. I don't know. I want to get to the batteries. That's all. Oh, it's got a tag there. If I pull this, we'll get some action in this thing. Bit curious. It had a try me, but it's also had one of the things that keep the batteries. Let's see if it makes a bit of noise. The hell is that? Well, it's a noisy little thing. I've got no idea if that relates to the Transformer series or anything. Oh dear, oh dear. I'm sure the audience will tell me what that relates to. Oh, thank goodness it stopped. Very, very noisy and annoying. Well, while this robot is quiet, I might do a bit of a comparison here, remembering that's basically $18 for me. Sure, it's got batteries and makes a sound, but that real McCoy guy there was $12. Now, hopefully, I'm showing you here there's possibly far better value in that one there versus this knockoff here. Well, I'm going to do something which is quite foolish. I'm going to attempt to transform this into the vehicle if I can. Well, I'll try and capture this on film. I'll probably have to speed it up because it's going to take me ages to work this out, but I will have a go. Well, that was a bit embarrassing. I made a couple of mistakes there. Maybe I followed the instructions. Maybe I should have ignored them. But I have told you I am not very good at doing these sorts of toys. I haven't got the IQ for this sort of stuff. That's what it looks like as a vehicle. Is the H6, is that like a Hummer thing? You guys will know, not me. I'm not really a vehicle sort of person. It's interesting, when it's in this format, it does feel cheap and nasty, but I don't know, just the wheels feel like they're about to come off. If I gave them a bit of a tweak, I could probably rip them off. I suppose, you know, some people say, oh, Leo, it looks okay, but I've got it in my hands, and I can tell you it doesn't feel okay. Does it feel like I've got the $18 worth? I don't think so. Does it feel like a really nice Transformer toy? No. But I think, I should show you the robot underneath. He hides inside. It's a bit weird. You've got to take whole components off and basically twist them around and swap the duties, and I made a couple of mistakes, but it doesn't transform naturally. It'd be the best way I could say it. I have got a little friend that's going to come and visit this vehicle. Lots of people have asked me, where's Mr. Hammer gone? Well, he hasn't really gone anywhere. He's just been hanging out with Wreck-It Ralph. You know, before Wreck-It Ralph was caught up in that video game, you know what he did? Panel beating. And I'm pretty sure it's going to take more than Fix-It Felix to fix the car once Ralph's done his work. Well, I bet you Wreck-It Ralph's busting to transform that toy into a new design. Okay, Wreck-It Ralph, time to show him who's boss. Well, Wreck-It Ralph 1, knockoff Transformer toy, none. Well, if I come in for a post-wrecking analysis, remembering, look, we're looking at material science here, we're not wrecking stuff for fun, are we? Over the back here, that roof section, I'm pretty sure I gave that a pretty hard whack, and that has survived very well. Maybe it's telling us something about the plastic that this toy is made of. Mind you, there is a T-shape there. T-shapes tend to be fairly strong. We're learning, aren't we? I hope so. That was the back piece. It's sort of just decomponentized, if that's a word. Knocked a few of the real Transformer guys over in awe of what was going on, probably. Wreck-It Ralph. Let's have a look at him, eh? He is a champion. Look at that. I picked him up. He was on special at a store. There's actually a couple of them. I picked up a bigger one as well, and I sort of don't mind Wreck-It Ralph. I like the beginning of that film, not so much the end bit. What is interesting, there's the core of this toy. The lights are flashing. I'm sure it's trying to talk back to home, saying, "Help, help! I'm under attack by some strange Wreck-It Ralph on a hammer." Very interesting. Oh, look in there. It is trying to call home. I could put up a fake and gay video about that, couldn't I? This toy is trying to talk back to its masters. The rest of the bits and bobs on it, considering it was all connected by, ball joints, I suppose, just sort of flew off in the whole components. It only took a couple of whacks from Wreck-It Ralph to sort this one out, and it really hasn't broken up that much. In the sense of all those pieces, I could probably go and put all this back together and sort of have what we had before. I don't know. It's well, it does tell us that the toy was, well, of a better class of knockoff stuff, but it's still a nasty knockoff. You know, just in case that thing is trying to talk back to home, I better knock it on the head and make sure it can't communicate. Just a quick handheld one here. Here we go. Come on, Ralph, you can help me. That's more like it, my boy. Okay, any sign of life from this knockoff Transformer have stopped. I dare say the victory is ours. Let's just hope a message didn't get out to send reinforcements, or there could be real trouble. Well, normally I would go and show you some more Transformer toys, but because this is my first Transformers Dark Side, I'm going to pull this video up a little bit short. I've got lots of these toys to show you on future videos, and what's interesting about that one there is, look at the price of that. It's basically $12, so that's the same price, if I slide this one here, as a real McCoy Transformer toy. This is the fraud that's going on in the Dark Side stuff. And I absolutely guarantee to you that toy there is nowhere near as good as the real McCoy. A big thing I like to do is educate people, and I think the easiest way to educate people is to show them one versus the other in the most dramatic way. And there's even ones over here. Look at this one here. There's like a little one here and a little mini-me. Sort of cute, isn't it? But I bet you they're nasty. What I might do is I'll take a look. Someone is going to say, "Oh, what about that real McCoy up the back?" Well, let's drag him out and have a look at that real Transformer toy. Well, this toy is fantastic. It's a 2006 Hasbro toy. It came from the charity shop that gets for me all the Thomas toys that you see on my channel. And this is impressive, I suppose. 2006 is back in those earlier films, isn't it, of the franchise? Are we up to film 4 now? It's got a punching fist there. It makes all sorts of sounds. If I push buttons on this, it's going to start to be noisy. I've actually put something else in his other arm here. This is not the original thing that goes here. I just shoved that in the hole there to fill a gap. That's something off a Happy Meal toy. But this is a very impressive toy. Like any child who had this would have a whole heap of fun. Makes all the... Oh, it's just started, sorry. Oh. There's a DMCA from the channel. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I just pressed the button on that, but you can just hear the noise that it makes. It makes the right noises, it makes the correct noises, and it's just nice. You can see it's had a bit of play, but it survived, and that's a very important thing to show. I'm sure whoever had this before it landed in my workshop would have given it a bit of a hard time. And like all Transformer toys, they are very interesting to look at. There's a lot of detail on them. And this is, I suppose, one of the ones, you know, aimed more at the younger person, where you're not actually having to build and rebuild him. Oh, it looks like it's coming alive. Its eyes are doing things on me. What's important with these toys, to work out whether they're room or koi, there'll be information, and I'll show you in the bottom of the foot on this one. On the foot, here's an interesting read. I probably need a legal person to interpret that there for me. But what's most important to see, the copyright 2006 Hasbro Incorporated. I certainly didn't find anything like that on that one there, on that mashup ones in there, which are now confetti, Transformer confetti, and I didn't find any Hasbro markings on that one either. But the one thing that all these nasty knockoffs are trying to do is they're basically trying to hitch a free ride onto the amazing world of the Transformers toys. And, you know, some of them go to great lengths in doing so, and others go to literally no lengths at all. But what I do really find to be the problem is when I see in the packaging things where they key into the Transformers, what do you call it, talk, robots in disguise. But the other thing is sometimes the typeface, and when they write something they're trying to key into the Transformers look, and sometimes it's a little symbol like that which is trying to trick you. And just taking a look again at that beautiful real Transformer toy, I'm hoping that's Bumblebee. Like I keep telling, I'm not a real fanboy or follower of this franchise. I'm hoping the people who watch this video are going to help me along. They're going to need to be, because I'll make mistakes. But I wonder if toys like this, considering it was a 2006 license, are made today, or are we getting like a dumbed down version of these toys for the younger folk? I'm a little bit curious about that. And I say that especially in relation to toys like this one that I know my son absolutely loves. And if you're making toys aimed at ages 3 and 7, well, the movies have got to be aimed at the same age group as well. Well, I better wrap this up. If you're a Transformer YouTube channel and it's the first time you've come across to my channel to have a look at what's going on, just let me know. I might come and have a little bit of a chat to you. I might come and look at your videos so I can understand Transformers a bit more. But when I get to this part of the video, you know what I say. And if you haven't been here before, you won't know what I say. But I say something like this. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.
He was really fine,